Here's a detailed script for your YouTube video on the 1985 Mercedes-Benz truck model 5080, suitable for your channel car operation. You can record it as a voiceover, or as you walk around the truck. Welcome to Car Operation. Today we're diving into an in-depth review of the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080 truck, examining everything from exterior and interior design, engine and suspension, electrical system, performance, and finally market pricing and ownership considerations. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about the exterior of the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080. At first glance you'll notice the commanding presence, a large cab, robust chassis, substantial ground clearance, heavy-duty wheels and tires designed for work. The bodywork reflects the priorities of commercial durability rather than luxury flair. Straight lines, functional doors and windows, simple but practical mirrors and lights. The front grille is substantial and the bonnet is high, giving you good vantage over the road or sight. The paint and metalwork tend to show the passage of time, so when you inspect a used unit you'll want to look for rust, corrosion, especially around the wheel arches, cab lower edges, buffer mounts and chassis frames. The load bed or chassis extension at the rear, depending on the variant, will also have signs of wear, dents or welding repairs. One thing to note, trucks of this era were built for utility, so the customization of the body or bed is common. What you see may be a tipper bed, flat bed, box body or some specialized body. Always verify the original GVW, gross vehicle weight, and configuration for your region, especially if you intend to register locally. The tires are large, the suspension raises the truck high off the ground, and you'll often find heavy-duty bumpers and possibly towing or coupling hardware. In short, the exterior tells you it's built to work, not for show. Make sure when doing a walk-around to check the condition of the frame, cross members, suspension hangers, wheel hub condition, signs of oil or fuel leaks around the engine bay and underside. Moving on to the interior of the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080. Inside the cab you get a very functional workspace. The seating is utilitarian but comfortable for its purpose. Heavy-duty driver's seat, sometimes air-suspended in later versions, manual adjustments, a generous steering wheel, clear analog gauges for speed, engine RPM, fuel, temperature and oil pressure, depending on the variant. The cab generally features good visibility, large windscreen, wide side windows, mirrors positioned for maximum view of the sides and rear. Storage compartments are modest but practical. Glove box, overhead shelf, simple door pockets. The interior trim materials are durable, vinyl or heavy cloth seats, hard plastic surfaces, less focus on luxury and more on resilience to wear and tear. Inspecting a used cab you'll want to check for wear on the seat bolsters, condition of the steering wheel, pedal box wear, the state of floor coverings and any signs of corrosion inside the cab. Footwells and lower door panels are often areas of trouble. The climate control in 1985 was fairly basic, heater and ventilation were standard. Air conditioning might be optional or absent depending on region. Sound deadening is minimal compared to modern trucks, so you'll notice road noise, engine noise and vibration. But for its era the cab is roomy, straightforward, and designed for robustness. In summary, solid, no-frills interior built for daily duty. Now let's dive under the hood and talk about the engine of this 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080. Exact data for this particular variant is harder to find, as Mercedes used numerous commercial engine options in that series. What we can assert is that trucks of the size and class of the 50 series, interpreting the model number as roughly 5-ton class, would typically carry a diesel inline engine, likely 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder, with a displacement in the 3.5-5.0 liter range depending on market. For example, earlier models of the 508 series had a 3.75-liter 4-cylinder diesel producing about 86 horsepower, in the 1979 508D. By 1985 the engines would likely be more powerful with better turbocharging or injection, though exact figures depend on region. You'll see robust engine mounting, heavy-duty cooling system, large radiator, intercooler if turbocharged, high-capacity air filter and fuel system built to last. When reviewing the engine condition you should check starting behavior. Diesel should fire up reliably, listen for unusual knocks or rattles, check for smoke on startup. Blue or black smoke can indicate oil or fuel issues, inspect oil level and condition, check for coolant leaks, examine turbos if fitted, inspect injection pump and lines, and ensure the belts and hoses are original or good quality replacements. The transmission pairing is generally manual, heavy-duty, often 5 or 6-speed or even 4-speed depending on build. The drivetrain is designed for load rather than speed, so you'll see low gearing, robust axles, large driveshaft and differential, heavy-duty brakes and suspension components. The bottom line: this engine is built to haul, built to last, but you must check for maintenance history, engine hours, and any modifications or wear. Now let's shift to the suspension system of the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080. The suspension architecture is heavy-duty. Front and rear leaf springs or parabolic springs, heavy-duty shock absorbers, stabilizer bars in some variants, and a robust chassis frame to absorb load demands. The front axle is designed for steering and load, and the rear axles will be built to handle high payloads, single or tandem rear axles depending on configuration. When inspecting the suspension, you should look for sagging springs, cracked leaves, worn or leaking shock absorbers, bushings with excessive play, corrosion on axle mounts or spring hangers. Ensure the frame is straight and has not been welded or bent. Check the wheel alignment and tire wear. Uneven wear often signals suspension or alignment issues. Also look for leaks or signs of damage to air bags if the variant has air suspension or air assist. The handling won't be sporty, that's not the point here, but should feel stable and predictable when loaded and unloaded. A loaded truck should sit level or slightly rear biased depending on payload. The ride quality will be harsh compared to a modern truck, but in its era this was acceptable. Make sure the chassis is free from excessive rust, especially where components mount, spring hangers, shock absorber brackets, sub-frames. If you're verifying roadworthiness, check the underside carefully. In short, this is a rugged suspension built for commercial service and your checks should reflect that. Turning now to the electrical system of the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080. The electrical architecture in a truck of that era is relatively straightforward compared to modern vehicles. You'll have a 12-volt system, some heavy trucks may use 24V, though for this size likely 12V. You'll have a 12-volt battery, or batteries, alternator, starter motor, wiring harnesses running to lights, gauges, switches and possibly a basic driver information module. Key electrical elements to inspect: battery condition and age. Alternator output voltage should hold around 13.8-14.2 V when running. Condition of wiring harnesses, look for frayed wires, heat damage, evidence of aftermarket modifications, connectors and grounding points. Trucks work hard, so corrosion and vibration can loosen ground connections, fuses and relays. Check box for signs of heat, water ingress or modifications. Lighting system, headlights, tail lights, indicators, brake lights, all should work correctly. Instrument cluster for lighting and gauge function. Starter motor behavior, should engage strongly. If the truck has additional electrical accessories, such as auxiliary work lights, PTO controls, refrigeration units, or body-mounted hydraulics, you'll want to test those too. Many trucks of this age have had body conversions or added equipment, so you'll want to ensure those wiring modifications are safe and reliable. Check for any water ingress in the cab or engine bay that might affect the electrical system. In short, verify the fundamentals of the electrical system are sound, because repairing electrical faults in older trucks can be time-consuming and costly. Now, performance. For the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080, the performance is defined more by its ability to work than to sprint. You're looking at a truck built for load, durability, and commercial service. You'll want to evaluate how it starts, how it behaves under load, how the transmission shifts, how the brakes perform, how the cooling and electrical systems cope with sustained running, how the steering feels, how the suspension behaves when loaded, and how all of this combines on the road and at rest. Driving the truck, you'll notice a very commanding view, the engine idling with a deep diesel tone, the gear shifts deliberate and robust, the brakes likely having a strong feel but long pedal travel, especially when loaded. If the truck is loaded, you'll evaluate stability in corners, though this isn't a performance car, so expect body roll, how the rear axles respond under load, whether the transmission gets hot, whether the engine temperature remains stable, whether oil and coolant temperatures are within normal ranges, and how the engine responds to heavier throttle demand. You'll want to test acceleration modestly. Remember, this is a truck, not a sports car. How quickly the truck picks up speed from standstill, how it handles inclines or grades with load, how the transmission copes and whether any upshifts are smooth or not. Also test braking performance, how the brakes respond when the truck is empty versus when loaded, are there warnings of fading or unusual noises, is the parking brake secure. In the cabin you should evaluate driver comfort, steering, seating, noise levels, vibration, the visibility, ergonomics of the controls, and in general how suitable the truck is for extended use. On the road you may notice that agility is modest, turning radius large, and the ride firm, but that is to be expected. What you want is reliability, predictability, and serviceability. The performance here is all about fulfilling commercial duties, hauling, starting, stopping, enduring. The 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080 delivers in that sense if maintained well. Finally, let's talk about prices and ownership considerations for the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080. Because the exact variant and market specifics vary widely, pricing is variable. For example, one listing for a used Mercedes-Benz 508d 1979 showed a price of about €5,500 for a unit with approximately 187,750 kilometers. That gives you some ballpark for older 50 series trucks of similar size, though the 5080 might signify a higher spec or different GVW class and thus could carry a higher price. When assessing cost of ownership, you should budget for maintenance. In trucks of this age, suspension, chassis, engine and electrical systems often need investment. Spare parts availability, depending on your region, it may be harder to source original parts for a 1985 model, so expect to pay for imported or remanufactured parts, fuel and consumables. Older diesel engines tend to be less efficient than modern ones, and when hauling heavy loads fuel cost adds up. Insurance and registration, depending on your country, the older truck may incur higher registration or inspection fees, and the body bed condition, if your truck has a tipper body or specialized body you may need to factor in repairs or refurbishment. If you are buying in Pakistan or importing, you'll also want to check the import duty, state of the truck, rust especially if coming from abroad, compatibility of spare parts and service network in your area. For resale value, a well-maintained 1985 truck with good service history, minimal rust, matching chassis numbers, and a body in sound condition will fetch better value. A neglected one will depreciate more. For your channel audience, it's useful to highlight: check the VIN and chassis number, check service records, test with and without load, inspect underside, test all electrical systems including auxiliary ones, and factor in refurbishment costs when comparing to purchase price. So if you find a 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080 in good shape in your region, ensure you've done your homework well. To sum up, the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 5080 is a truck built for durability, for service, for load. It may not have the flair of a luxury vehicle, but in its class it delivers what you need. Robust construction, practical interior, workhorse engine, heavy-duty suspension, straightforward electricals, and performance tailored to duty rather than sport. For your car operation viewers who may consider older commercial vehicle ownership, this model is a worthwhile subject. You see the value of solid engineering, of regular maintenance, and of realistic expectations. If you approach it correctly, you can end up with a reliable truck with character and long service ahead. Thank you for watching this in-depth review here on car operation. If you like this style of breakdown, exterior, interior, engine, suspension, electrical system, performance and pricing, let me know in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into vehicles like this. Until next time, keep your wheels rolling and your engines running.